everybody, Questwise here, and recently I've been asked by a few people how I prepare for a solo campaign or solo session when I sit down to play solo RPGs. Now, I was a little bit apprehensive about sharing my technique, not because I think it's wrong, because there's not really a wrong way to prepare for your own session of entertainment, but mine's pretty freeform, and I use a lot of different avenues to get to the story I want to tell. Normally I would send you to some other YouTube channels who do it much better than I do. Geek Gamers, Solo RPG Guy, Dungeon Dive, just to name a few, because I don't think mine is very structured. I sort of draw inspiration from a bunch of different sources. But the more I thought about it, I thought maybe I have sort of a unique aspect of how I begin my solo RPG campaigns, and I decided I was going to start a new one. I'm going to be using the D&D. Ooh, sorry, I just hit the camera. The D&D 5e. I love this, by the way. So if you can get a copy of the Essentials kit, you'll be seeing a lot of that in these next couple of videos. I'll be using this. So I'll be just using this sort of small rule book, which has all the base rules and ways to create characters for about 4 different classes, 4 different races, I believe. But it's just the basics. But if you can get your hands on a copy of this, I highly recommend it. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the best products they've put out for 5e ever, especially for somebody who's a solo role player or somebody who's just beginning but wants to create characters rather than use the pre-generated stuff. So I'll be using this rule set, and the reason I'm using this rule set is because I wanted this time. Generally, I pick a very generic OSR, very rules-light kind of system because it's easier to sort of tell a more narrative story when the rules aren't in the way. And not that I think that 5th edition is really particularly hard or complicated or complex, but I wanted a little bit of a pulpier, higher-powered sort of adventure this time. I will probably be utilizing the 5e 2024 edition, which is the newest player's handbook, because I want to have more flavor when it comes to magic, character options, that kind of thing. But I wanted a little bit more of a higher powered campaign. I wanted it to feel a little bit more heroic. But one of the other tools that I'm going to use, and this will be the basis of this first video, I guess I don't want to bore you with like an hour and a half, 2 hour long blathering of me talking about solo role playing. So I thought I'd break this up a little bit. But to begin the sort of journey to try to decide what sort of character I want to play in this campaign, I'm going to use sort of an oracle type system. What I'm going to be showing you today is bits and pieces from a board game that I discovered several years ago, which is really, truly amazing. It's by Brotherwise Games. It's called Call to Adventure, and this is the very first one. So it's very generic. I know that they've teamed up with Brandon Sanderson and done one in his Cosmere universe, but this is the original, and I think it's beautiful. It's a board game. It's meant to be played sort of with your friends. You can play it solo. There are rules for solo play, and it's fun. But you're meant to be played with other friends, and basically whoever has the most victory points at the end of your session, which is really about creating a character. I would say it's sort of like an RPG but ultra light. You're skipping over all of the narrative stuff and just going straight to the conflicts and the progression of your character over time within like an hour period. So like going from level 1 to like level 10 within like an hour's period of time. Very beautiful. I highly recommend that you get one if you can, because it is a lot of fun, and it's you'll see the artwork is amazing. But it's the concepts of this game that, as I was playing it by myself and with a few friends, that I realized that this would be a great way to sort of oracle, if it were, the beginnings of a character creation process for solo role-playing. I like to be surprised, and when I'm solo role-playing, and that sometimes is a little bit difficult to surprise yourself because you're creating everything from scratch. And I think that's why a lot of oracles are really, really good to have on hand. In fact, I'm going to be using this one a lot during this campaign. This is the Ultimate Solo RPG Kit by Silver Nightingale, and it is just a 2-page spread, front and back, of basically some simple rules. Hex crawl rules, encounter builders, hex crawl terrains, dungeon generation tables, monster maker tables, enemy AI. It is a simple oracle system that you can use when you need ideas very quickly. And by simply rolling on a few of these tables, you're able to get some really, really cool results. And it gives you that sort of surprise that you don't normally get when you're playing a solo role-playing game. But that's the reason why I like to role-play. I want to immerse myself into a world, but I want to be surprised. And sometimes that creative process, simply by rolling on an oracle or using a game like Call to Adventure, which I'm going to show you today, is really instrumental in creating those rules of surprise and building a sort of narrative. So what we have here are 3 different cards. There are two cards of each, and this is kind of how you play the game. Like I said, I'm not teaching you how to play the game today. I'm simply using a portion of what's available in the box of what I use to sort of create that sort of character creation process. So here we have 2 random cards drawn from an entire deck of your origins, 2 from motivations, and 2 from your legacy. So basically how I want to do this campaign is I'm going to be doing it in 3 parts. I'm calling it like the Triune system. In that I'm going to break down my character progression into 3 parts. I'm going to be building the character creation process into 3 parts. And it's all going to be using Call to Adventure. Now, when you're doing Call to Adventure, there are 3 sort of stages that you play through. There's stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and they get progressively harder, which is perfect for when you're doing a solo role-playing experience. You want to start off a little easier. I'm going to be building a character at level 1 using the 5th edition rules. And I'm going to be playing it in 3 parts. So basically, I'm going to be using what I have here today throughout the campaign. I'm going to make notes on this in my journal, and I'm going to start at first level, and then I'm going to play through some adventures, using this as a building block of my motivation, my legacy, what I'm striving for in my legacy, my motivation behind why I'm adventuring, and my origin of what my character was before he became an adventurer. So I'm going to be starting at level 1 and playing up to level 3. Once I reach 3rd level, I'm going to be switching to the level 2 deck and be drawing some more cards, and I'll show you those in a minute, and be drawing some more cards to, at that point, sort of advance the story from levels 4 through 7. And then I'm going to, once I progress up to level 7 or reach level 8, I'm going to be doing the level 3 cards, in which I'll be going from 8 to 10, right? Did I do that right? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, and then 10 I'm going to, once I reach level 10, so it'll be broken down into 3 stages. Levels 1 through 3, then 4 through 6, then 7 through 9. And then once I reach level 10 as a character, I will that will be sort of initiating the end game, my ultimate goal, trying to achieve my legacy, whatever it is that we choose from here. Now you want to have some choices, so I'm not going to just like pick one and try to run with it, because some of these are sort of counterintuitive to each other. So what I'm going to do today is I randomly chose 2 cards from the entire Origins deck. And I'm going to flip these over because I have not looked at these at all yet. I simply did this just before I turned on the camera, shuffled these out randomly, and we're going to choose one of these origins to be the origin for our character. So again, I'm being surprised, but it has something that I'll be able to build off from. And I have a little bit of a choice here between choosing between 2 of the cards as to how I want to proceed. So we'll start with that. So this is our character origin. So we have an apprentice. Now, most of this text down here is in-game play stuff. We're not going to be using this. I'm simply using this as inspiration type of an oracle. So I could have the character origin of being an apprentice. According to the artwork here, it could be like a blacksmith apprentice. Could be an apprentice to a magic a wizard. It could be an apprentice to, like, say, maybe a church or a religion. But we have the choice of starting off as our background as apprentice or a conscript. So really interesting concepts here. I could either be an apprentice, which is, sort of a non-military background, but having lots of skills, or I could go with a conscript where I was sort of forced into service into a military type of environment. These are both really, really cool, and they both offer some really, really great role-playing options. Oh, so the other thing I forgot to mention too is that these symbols up here, Call to Adventure is very, very much influenced by Dungeons and Dragons. It's just very, very evident that it is influenced by that, because those symbols at the very tops of the cards there are based upon attributes. And these attributes, oddly enough, are strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma, which you will know is the stats from Dungeons and Dragons. So that's what each one of these sort of represents, a leaning towards a particular attribute for your character. I think I'm going to go conscript. I think I might go a little bit more of a military campaign. So what I was planning on doing is this symbol right here represents strength. This symbol right here represents constitution. So for whatever card I chose, whatever origin I chose, and whatever else happens to be on these cards, I'm going to get a +1 bonus for each of these symbols when I'm rolling up my character for that particular stat, for that particular ability. So we're going to go with conscript. I'm going to do a little bit more of a military campaign, I think, in this part. This is going to be our motivation, the reason why we've become an adventurer. So let's see what we got. We have driven to despair. So this to me says that something bad happened that maybe drove us to being conscripted into an army. Maybe we lost our family, or we were betrayed, or we were sold into conscription. So that's very interesting. Again, instantly the story is being driven ahead, and we haven't even created our character yet. Or trained by a master. So this says to me that I was maybe conscripted into these armed forces and maybe taken under the wing of a sword master or some kind of scout master or spy master, and trained in those particular arts. These are both really, really cool. I think that to me right now, driven to despair is a much more sort of influencing sort of way to create a character right now. Like, I'm already getting a lot more ideas based off of this than I am off of Trained by a Master. And so we'll come up with some ideas with this, and we'll use some other oracles to come up with the reason why that is the case. This is our destiny. This is our legacy card. This is something that we have to strive to achieve. So this is our beginnings. This is where we began. This is the reason why we became an adventurer, or we're going to do the campaign. This is our origin and our background, and sort of the beginning of our character and what they will become. And this is what will be a sort of the end game of the campaign. This level 10, this is what we're striving towards. So based upon the ideas of these, we have Wise Master, and we have Hero of Destiny. Oh, this is tough. This is a good one. So Wise Master, to me, says, you know, like maybe I'm being sort of driven towards becoming some kind of a teacher, or some sort of like the end game is that I'm going to be somebody who is a mentor to other people. This one kind of gives me some Aragorn vibes, right? Like, so I'm destined to become a hero. Whatever the tale might unfold before me, it was always in my destiny. It was sort of foretold that I would become a hero. And now what's interesting about Call to Adventure is there's this duality, right? There's this dark side and this light side to everything. And you can see that here. I can become a hero of destiny where I destroy the world, or I bring it light and peace and happiness. I think I'm going to go with this. I think it's a little ambitious, and it's a little bit sort of out there reaching for something that's just going to be level 1 to 10, but I think this will be fun. This will be fun to try to push to. It almost kind of gives that duality of like, throughout the campaign, what's going to happen, you know, like based upon this driven to despair aspect of things, what's going to happen there. So I think that's a really, really cool aspect that I think I'm going to push toward. So those are the 3 cards. My origin, my motivation, and my destiny, or my legacy, right? So let me grab my notebook, and we'll be right back, and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to write these notes down. Oh, one more thing before we actually go to the notebook, before we go to our journal here, I wanted to use this deck. So in this deck, there's going to be adversaries, there's going to be allies, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be traits that we can gain. Now, these don't all, like I said before, like these aspects actually directly sort of translate into Dungeons and Dragons stats, but not everything in this game does, right? It's not a Dungeons and Dragons game. It is its own board game. So we'll have to do a little bit of fiddling with the rules to make everything fit. But in this deck is going to be, like I said, adversaries, allies, events, traits, stuff that's going to go on. And I'm going to draw 3 of these that's going to influence our choices here. So our conscription into some sort of military service, driven to despair as our motivation, and then our goal of to push ourselves towards being the hero of destiny. So I'm going to draw 3 of these, and they're going to sort of add a little bit more flavor into this idea. And we'll try to talk through that and see how we can sort of add that to what we've already chosen. So I'm going to give this a quick shuffle. I did shuffle it earlier, but there's some great stuff in here. We could gain some allies. There could be some things that we'll try to some things in the past that we've overcome. And there could also be some traits that might further influence who our character is. So the first one is going to be Secret Royalty. Man, this is becoming a more and more of an Aragorn Strider kind of a story as we go along, right? So I've been sold into conscription by some kind of despair that has happened. I'm assuming that my family was murdered in some kind of battle or a raid. I survived as a child and was sold into an army or a mercenary group maybe. And again, we'll use an oracle in a few minutes to decide those kinds of things. But this ties in directly to our hero of destiny, that I was somehow secret royalty. in the long run, that maybe that my parents were actually royalty and I was an heir to some sort of throne or some sort of title. So very, very interesting there. Stories unfolding as it is already. Second one is, so you read this as kind of hidden lore. And in the game of Call to Adventure, when you attempt to take on this sort of challenge and you pass this challenge, and again, I'm not getting into the rules behind Call to Adventure, but once you pass this challenge, you get to choose to either uncover that hidden lore or to learn dark secrets. So dark secrets would add to us some, let's see, it would add us a bonus to intelligence, or we could go uncover that hidden lore and it would give us dexterity. I think I'm going to go with learn dark secrets. It's going to push this sort of hero of destiny back and forth between light and dark side. So we're going to go with learn dark secrets. So we'll move that over here. And then our third card, I'll place it like this so we remember. And our third sort of story driving sort of card is going to be, a mentor. Okay, so I have a mentor. Somebody who's sort of teaching me, pushing me along. It's going to be a character, an NPC that is sort of driving me forward and guiding me through my towards my destiny, right? So I have this mentor, or maybe I had this mentor. Maybe it's driven. Maybe my mentor was one of my parents. And that's what this Driven to Despair card is all about. So there we have those three. Again, just pushing the story forward a little bit more. But let's go to our journal. We'll talk about this a little bit. Actually, you know what? Just skip the journal because you won't be able to see me write on it anyway. I'll just talk through this through a little bit more, and then I'll journal this out. And then in the next video, we'll talk about the character I've created for the story and where we're going to start this 10-level campaign of a solo storyline. So something has driven me to despair. I'll think this out throughout and after we get done with this video. And like I said, next video I'll come forward and I'll show you the entire character I created in the background story. Some kind of despair has driven me into conscription. I am secret royalty and I need to learn the dark secret of my royalty. It's going to push me towards being a hero of destiny. But I have some sort of mentor, or had some sort of mentor, that is truly going to help me, guide me in my path towards the end of this campaign, towards my legacy, towards my destiny. But until next time, my friends, I hope that you found this enjoyable. I hope you found this useful. I plan on doing a few more videos. Hopefully tomorrow I will do the second part of this video, be able to post it up, and I'll show you the character that I've created in the beginning of... I'm not going to actually do any gameplay because I think that you'll probably find that kind of boring, me just sitting here and being like rolling on some tables and pushing the story forward. But it's more enjoyable for me and probably not so much more enjoyable for people watching. But I'll show you my progress and I'll show you the character I created, and the process of doing that and how I'm going to sort of set up my world. So until next time, my friends, I am Questwise. Please, as always, stay safe out there in this crazy world. And most importantly, game on.